Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope all of you are doing well. Before we start today's lesson, let me introduce myself. My name is Kairani Septi Anggraini, and today I will be your biology teacher. Today, we are going to learn about the body defense system, especially the external and internal defense mechanism. This topic is very important because every day our body is exposed to many microorganisms. For example, when we touch other handle, shake someone's hand, eat food, or even breathe the air around us, many microorganisms can enter our body. Some of them are harmless, but some can cause disease. Have you ever wondered why we don't get sick every day? The answer is because our body has an amazing defense system. This defense system works all the time, even when we are sleeping. Its job is to protect us from harmful microorganisms and keep our body healthy. So, in today's lesson, we will learn how this defense system works. I hope all of you are ready to learn. Let's begin our lesson. Before we discuss the material, let's look at our learning objective. After today's lesson, you are expected to achieve three learning objectives. First, you should be able to identify the body's external defense as the first line of defense. Second, you should be able to explain the body's internal defense, include non-specific and specific immune response. Finally, you should be able to distinguish the difference between non-specific defense and specific defense based on their functional and how they work. Please pay attention during the lesson because this objective will help you understand today's topic. Now, let's move the first material. First, let's understand what the body defense system is. The body defense system is a biological mechanism that protect our body from infection caused by pathogen. Pathogen are harmful microorganisms such as bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasite. They can enter our body through the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, or through cuts on our skin. Fortunately, our body has a defense system that protects us from this pathogen. The body system consists of two main parts. The first is external defense. External defense protect our body before pathogen enter. The second is the internal defense. Internal defense destroys a pathogen that have already entered our body. These two defense systems work together to keep us healthy every day. Without them, our body will become sick much more easily. Now that we know the definition, let's discuss the first external defense. The first external defense is the skin. The skin is the body's first line of defense. It protects our body from bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasite. The skin works as physical barriers. This means that it prevents harmful microorganisms from entering our body. For example, when your skin is healthy and there are no cut or wound, bacteria cannot easily enter your body. However, if your skin is injured, microorganisms might enter through the wound and cause an infection. That is why it is important to keep our skin clean and take care of any cuts of wounds. A healthy skin is one of the simplest but most effective ways to protect our body. External defense, mucus and cilia. Besides the skin, our body also has mucus and cilia as external defense. Mucus is found in the respiratory system, digestive system, and reproductive system. Its main function is to trap dust, dirt, and microorganisms before they enter deeper into our body. Next, we have cilia. Cilia are tiny hair-like structure found in the inspiratory tracts. They move continuously like small brushes. Their move help push trap dust and microorganisms out of airways. Because of mucus and cilia, many harmful particles are removed before they can reach out lungs. So, mucus and cilia work together to help keep our respiratory system clean. Next, external defense, body fluid. Another important external defense is body fluid. Our body products different kinds of fluids such as tears, saliva, and gastric juice. These fluids help protect us from harmful microorganisms. For example, tears and saliva contain an enzyme called lysozyme. Lysozyme can destroy the cell walls of bacteria. Our stomach also produce hydrochloric acid. This acid kills many microorganisms that enter our body through food and drink. So, body fluid do not only help our body function normally, but they also protect us from infection. Now we have finishing discuss the external defense system. Next, let's continue with the internal defense system. Before we continue, let's watch a short educational video about the body defense system. While watching the video, please pay attention to how our body protects itself from harmful microorganisms.
An overview of all the major body systems is nice, but something remarkable happens when you explore one body system at a time in a bit more depth. And, in our opinion, one of the most fascinating systems of all is the immune system. Why? Because it features cells in your body that work day and night together to protect you from a constant threat of pathogens trying to bring mayhem. And most of the time, you don't even know it. Most of the time. By pathogen, I could mean a lot of things. A lineup, viruses, bacteria, fungi, protists, parasitic worms. We could go on. Your body has external protection against these things, like your skin. We call that a first line of defense because it's the first line against letting these pathogens inside your body. Mucous membranes, too, like the lining of your nose, will keep pathogens from getting inside. This first line of defense is non-specific because it's not selective about what it blocks from getting into your body. But this is all not foolproof, and sometimes they do get in. And when they do, your immune system has all kinds of ways to deal. After all, this is not its first rodeo. So let's say they break through our first line of defense. Well, the second line of defense includes the inflammatory response. To explain it very simply, let's say you step on a sharp stick, and there's some bacteria on that stick, in your foot. The initial damage of this stick into your foot can cause certain types of cells, such as a mast cell, to react. These cells are filled with substances that work with allergic responses and inflammatory responses too. One substance that they contain is histamine. If they are triggered to release histamine, the result is that this will cause blood vessels to dilate, meaning they widen near the injury. Histamine also contributes to making these blood vessels leakier. The dilation and the leakiness of the blood vessel makes it easier for many types of white blood cells, such as certain types of macrophages, to reach the area. And macrophages do what macrophages do best. They consume the pathogens. Additionally, your body has a complement system. The complement system is not what it sounds like. It basically works to help or complement the actions of the immune system. It can work with nonspecific or specific responses. In this situation, the release of complement factors, in this case, can further attract macrophages to the area to consume pathogens. When all this signaling stops, the damaged area can return to normal. The pathogen has been terminated. However, that also was a nonspecific response. Who knows what was on that stick? So that takes us to the third line of defense, the specific line of defense. If you had a cold virus spreading through your body, you may need your response to be targeted on that pathogen. Now, as we give our typical notice, the immune system is very complex. We've just been giving some basics, and we're going to continue to do so. But there are a lot of extra details and exceptions that this short video can't go into. We encourage you to explore. Okay, so we mentioned, what if we need a more targeted response? We're moving into something known as adaptive immunity. Sounds fancy. This is a specific response to an antigen. An antigen is something the body recognizes as non-self, and in this case, it is something that would be a part of the pathogen. This adaptive response is going to be the third line of defense, as the first and second line of defense may not have been enough to control the pathogen. We're going to focus on the basics of two adaptive responses, cell-mediated and humoral. Cell-mediated. This involves the cytotoxic T cell. The cytotoxic T cell is a white blood cell that has the ability to destroy cells that have been infected by the pathogen. It does this by releasing signals that causes the infected cell to do apoptosis, which is a type of self-destruct. It can do this by releasing a protein called perforin, which actually causes holes in the cell membrane. This causes water and ions to flow into it and destroys the cell. When cells that have been infected by a pathogen are destroyed, this can also destroy the pathogen, or it can mean the pathogen at least can no longer replicate inside that infected cell. The thing is, for this response to work, you have to activate a cytotoxic T cell. Stimulating a cytotoxic T cell could mean an infected cell presents an antigen from the pathogen that had infected it. The infected cell presents the antigen on its own cell membrane, kind of like a little flag saying, "Hey, I've been infected, and here you go, this is what it is." This activates cytotoxic T cells to bind and release signals that causes the infected cell to perform apoptosis. But there's another way to stimulate cytotoxic T cells too. Remember how macrophages may have been consuming the pathogen? When they do, they process the pathogen, and the antigens from the pathogen are transferred to the macrophage's surface. A white blood cell called the T helper cell can bind. The macrophage will release chemical signals, which then causes the T helper cell to release chemical signals, which then can stimulate cytotoxic T cells. Cytotoxic T cells will be in search of infected cells so they can stop the pathogen, and they will also continue to amplify the immune response. That's the cell-mediated response, simplified. But remember how we mentioned those helper T cells? They're big helpers as they help not only in the cell-mediated response, but they also help in the humoral response. So what happens in the humoral response? In one scenario, a macrophage has consumed a pathogen, and once again, has an antigen from the pathogen on its cell membrane surface. Then it binds a helper T cell. That helper T cell could also stimulate a white blood cell known as a B cell. B cells are white blood cells that have the ability to make something called antibodies. Before I define antibody, can we just take a moment and recognize that there are three words that sound very similar and can involve the immune system. Antigen, which is something that the immune system recognizes as foreign to the body. We've been mentioning that one a lot. Antibiotics are substances that can specifically destroy bacteria. We have a separate video on those. But antibodies are something totally different. Antibodies are proteins, and they tend to be in a Y shape. Antibodies have an antigen binding area where they bind a specific antigen. They will be found in blood, but many antibodies can also be found in mucus, saliva, breast milk, and more. There are different classes of antibodies. For example, IgE can protect against parasitic worms, and it's responsible for a lot of allergic reactions. Antibodies are generally very specific, so there must be an antibody that is able to bind to an antigen. When antibodies bind an antigen, they can deactivate the pathogen by affecting the ability of the pathogen to move, reproduce, or cause harm. The binding can also be like signs telling macrophages, "Here it is, come eat it." So activating B cells causes these antibodies to be produced, and this is part of the humoral response. While B cells can be activated by a T helper cell, they can also be activated by free antigens themselves that they may come in contact with. Now, we do want to mention that both in the humoral and cell-mediated response, there are memory cells. There are memory B cells and memory T cells. These cells keep a memory of the antigen they were exposed to. Memory B cells can activate plasma B cells, which will make antibodies. Memory T cells can activate cytotoxic T cells, which will go after infected cells. The ability to keep a memory is very important, and this is also where vaccines come in. Vaccines can introduce either an inactivated or very weakened pathogen. This means the body does not get the disease itself, but it will launch an immune response. By launching an immune response, there will ultimately be memory immune cells that will be involved in launching an efficient attack if that pathogen is ever encountered in the future. Overall, this immune system that you have, it's pretty incredible. There are entire giant textbooks about this topic alone and careers dedicated to studying it. Well, that's it for the Amoeba Sisters, and we remind you to stay curious.
I hope you enjoy the video and learning something new. From the video, we can see that our body has many ways to protect us from harmful microorganisms. Earlier, we learned about the external defense system. Now, let's continue with the second part, which is the internal defense system. Now, let's discuss the first internal defense mechanism, which is the non-specific response. The non-specific response is also called the innate immune response. This defense is present from birth. It works immediately whenever harmful microorganisms enter our body. It does not choose which pathogen to attack. Instead, it attacks all pathogens in the same way. One important cell in this response is the macrophage. Macrophage protect our body by surrounding, swallowing, and destroying a pathogen. This process is called phagocytosis. Another example of the non-specific response is inflammation. When you get a small cut on your finger, the area often becomes red, swollen, warm, and sometimes painful. These are signs of inflammation. Many people think inflammation is bad. Actually, inflammation is a normal response. It shows that your immune system is working to protect your body and repair damaged tissue. So, inflammation is one way our body fight infection. Can you remember a time when you had a small it become red? That was your immune system doing its job. Next, let's learn about the specific response. Unlike the non-specific response, The specific response targets only certain pathogens. This means the immune system can recognize different microorganisms and attack the correct one. This response involves lymphocyte. There are two main types of lymphocyte. The first is the B lymphocyte or B cell. B cells produce antibodies. The second is the T lymphocyte or T cell. T cells help destroy infected cell and help other immune cell work properly. Because this response is very specific, it becomes stronger after the body has been exposed to the same pathogen before. That is why our body can remember some diseases. Now, let's learn about white blood cell. White blood cells are very important because they help protect our body from disease. They are also called leukocytes. There are different types of white blood cells. There are different types of white blood cells. Neutrophil magnified bacteria. Macrophage destroy pathogens through phagocytosis. Lymphocytes are responsible for the specific immune response. Although they have different function, they all work together to protect our body. Without white blood cell, it would be much harder for our body to fight infection. So remember this: white blood cells are the soldiers of our immune system. Next, now let's talk about antibodies. Antibodies are protein produced by B lymphocytes. Their job is to recognize harmful pathogens. Antibody attacks two specific molecules called antigens that are found on the surface of pathogen. After antibodies attack to antigens, they help other immune cells find the destroy those pathogen. In simple words, antibodies act like labels. They help the immune system know which microorganism should be destroyed. Because of antibodies, our immune system can respond more effectively to infection. Can anyone tell me which cell produce antibodies? That's right. B lymphocyte produce antibodies. Now, let's move to immunization. Immunization. Have you ever received a vaccine? I think most of you have. Vaccines are one of the best ways to protect our body from disease. Immunization helps the immune system develop immune memory. This means the immune system can remember certain pathogens. If the same pathogen enters the body again, the immune system can respond much faster because of this quick response. This disease can often be prevented because the disease can often be prevented or become less severe. That is why vaccination is very important for keeping ourselves and our community healthy. So, vaccine do not make us sick. Instead, they help prepare our immune system to fight disease in the future. Now, to understand this process better, let's watch another short educational video about antibodies, vaccine, and immune memory. Please pay attention to how the immune system responds after vaccination.
Vaccines and the immune response. How vaccines work. Influenza vaccines are able to trigger an immune response by mimicking viral infection. They are usually manufactured using inactivated or killed virus particles taken from various circulating influenza strains. Inactive fractioned viral components contain the subvirion particles hemagglutinin, HA, and neuraminidase, NA. In Canada, influenza vaccines are administered via intramuscular injection. These fractioned particles containing the foreign antigens hemagglutinin and neuraminidase are released from the vaccine into the bloodstream. There, they are met with an immune response mediated by various immune cells, including macrophages, T lymphocytes or T cells, and B lymphocytes or B cells. A major mechanism of action involves macrophage phagocytosis of hemagglutinin, breaking it into smaller components. After ingestion, macrophages display the hemagglutinin antigen on their surface in combination with a specific receptor known as the major histocompatibility complex or MHC. T cells are now able to recognize and bind foreign antigens that are associated with the MHC. Upon binding to the MHC receptor, T cells become activated and proliferate into either cytotoxic T cells, regulatory suppressor T cells, or helper T cells. Activated helper T cells express hemagglutinin receptors specific to the vaccine strand on their surface and play a major role in antibody generation and memory B cell activation. Unlike T cells, B cells are able to ingest hemagglutinin independent of the MHC. Once internalized, B cells process the hemagglutinin antigen and present it on their surface in combination with an MHC. When activated helper T cells interact with activated B cells expressing antigen MHC receptors, they begin secreting lymphokines which have several effects. Lymphokines trigger activated B cell proliferation, which leads to either their differentiation into memory B cells or into plasma cells. Plasma cells produce hemagglutinin antibodies specific to the strain of influenza contained in the vaccine. Memory B cells aid in future immune response when exposed to an active influenza virus. When an infected host sneezes towards an uninfected person, the nasopharynx is exposed to aerosol droplets containing whole, live influenza virus. Once inhaled, the influenza virus attempts viral colonization of nasopharyngeal epithelial cells. Assuming that the vaccine strain matches that of the live virus, hemagglutinin antibodies block viral attachment of live influenza virus to host epithelial cells, and overall disease is either avoided or diminished in severity.
I hope the video helped you understand how antibody and vaccine protect our body. Now, let's continue the final part of today's lesson. Now, let's learn about some immune system disorders. Sometimes, the immune system does not work properly. As a result, it cannot protect the body as it should. There are three common examples. The first is immunodeficiency. A person with immunodeficiency has a weak immune system. One example is HIV or AIDS. People with HIV have difficulty fighting infection because their immune system is weakened. The second example is autoimmune disease. In this condition, the immune system attacks the body's own healthy cell. Examples include lupus and type 1 diabetes. The third example is allergy. An allergy happens when the immune system reacts too strongly to something that is usually harmless, such as dust, pollen, animal fur, or certain foods. These examples show us that a healthy immune system is very important for our body. After learning about immune system disorders, let's discuss how to keep our immune system healthy. There are many simple habits that can help. First, eat healthy and nutritious food such as fruit, vegetables, eggs, fish, and other healthy foods. Second, exercise regularly. Physical activity helps our body stay healthy. Third, get enough sleep every night. Sleep is important because our body repairs itself while we are resting. Fourth, manage stress. Too much stress can affect our immune system. Finally, avoid smoking and drinking too much alcohol because these habits can weaken the immune system. Remember, a healthy lifestyle helps our immune system work better and protects us from many diseases. Alright everyone, that is the end of today's lesson. Today we have learned about the body's external and internal defense mechanism and how they protect us from disease. I hope today's lesson has helped you understand this topic better and will encourage you to take good care of your immune system. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask. See you in the next lesson. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.